So welcome back to another episode, and this time I'm actually a little surprised. We want to talk about a game today that I was certain John would have finished, and I'm amazed that he hasn't yet. So I want to find out why. The game I want to talk to him about, A Link Between Worlds.
Yes, and this is funny. Here's my original copy of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, one of my favorite Zelda games of all time.
And that is my most favorite Zelda game.
Yeah, I love this game. I played it in high school, grade 12. We'll never forget it. We talked about it. I remember picking it up, coming home in the blistering sun, playing it in my basement. The rain was coming down in the game. I was soaking. I love the game. My problem is this. I have not had a chance to play it. This is my copy here. I haven't had a chance to play it. I went for a trip to Toronto, but I spent all of my time visiting with my sister and my mom. Aren't I a terrible person? So I didn't have a chance to play it. And this game's been out for months and months and months. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Rob about it. He's finished the game, and I don't need to be sold on it, but I want to hear a lot about the great stuff about it. You know, a lot of the hidden gems of this game that I haven't heard about from anybody else. So okay, how does it first of all stack up to our favorite game here?
Very well. Very well. I'll say that first. I mean, it's the same basic world. It's not the exact same map. Obviously, there's differences. They've done that. But very similar. You still have Kakariko Town. You still have a lot of the Lost Woods. It's almost identical. There are just small, subtle differences. However, it's such a perfect successor. It's such a perfect sequel. The graphics are sort of 3D rendered as opposed to the 2D hand-drawn, but they've been done in a really good way that keeps the charm and the feel of this.
Yeah.
Link in this looks like more like this guy right here.
Yeah. I played an hour.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten to the adventure of it. It's all the setup.
Okay.
You know?
I love the fact that they kept it a lot more sort of free roam and open world. You can, in fact, do the dungeons in any order you want. They don't have a Dungeon 1, Dungeon 2, Dungeon 3, like level 4, level 5. It's just, there's the swamp dungeon, there's the desert dungeon, there's that. And so they leave it like that. You are entirely on your own.
So at any point, I can go to Dungeon 8?
Yep. Because there is no Dungeon 8. Okay. At any point, you can go to the desert dungeon.
Yeah. So it's basically like the first Zelda. Really,
yes.
That way. Yeah.
One minor difference. And this is the only nitpick that I have for this game. The only one. You don't get your items in the dungeons.
You're right.
It's not part of the mechanic anymore.
It's not like at the end you get a boomerang type of thing.
So like in the first Zelda, after dungeon 4 I think, where you got the ladder, because dungeon 3 you got the raft and you needed that to get to dungeon 4.
You're right.
Well, all the dungeons after that in places incorporated spots where you needed that ladder. So you had to finish that dungeon first.
Yeah.
Well, and in so many of them, you get the item in the dungeon halfway through, and then it's used throughout the rest and through the boss fight, especially in the later ones, like Ocarina of Time stuff.
Yeah.
So you learn how to use it. There's a fella named Ravio that sets up a shop in Link's house in this game. And you rent all of your equipment from him.
Right off the get-go.
You can rent most of the items right off the get-go. There's a few that'll show up later, but for the most part, you rent all of them if you want, and rupees are thrown at you left and right in this game. You can catch them in the grass, you can get them in bags, you always have tons of money. So you have to rent them all, but if you die, his little sidekick takes them all back to the shop and you have to rent them again. So that I didn't care for so much. I've always loved finding a new item in a dungeon because for the most part, aside from the serious tropes, you didn't know what you were going to get necessarily.
So wait, you just all the way to the very end you're renting?
No. You're renting until a certain point, after which he gives you the option to then pay a bunch more money and buy them.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
So you do eventually end up owning them permanently.
Rent to own, buddy.
Pretty much, yes. But it's that's the only thing that stuck in my craw about this. I don't like that as much because I've always enjoyed having the dungeons centered around both their location and the item. So
what do you like about this game?
Everything else. Everything
That's a good thing to hear.
The view, the top-down view that brings you right back to this. The music is so reminiscent, although not identical. There's a lot of strains of this in there. The dungeons were brilliantly well designed. I didn't turn on the 3D. I don't care for it as much.
The 3D for me in a game, it's perfect if I'm holding it
Yeah.
straight. But if I move it, it's like woo,
I know,
woo,
and I
woo,
don't
woo.
care for that.
Yeah.
But I can see how the 3D was very well conceived for how they did it,
Yeah.
because they did it for the depth in the dungeons.
Cool. Oh wow.
And it's really cool. When it's working, it looks amazing. But
Yeah.
I preferred to turn it off because I played it most sitting, like lying in bed.
Yeah.
But
So what about the paintings? What about Link turning into the?
it makes for a really cool dynamic that allows you to explore so much more.
So it's not cheesy. It's not
No,
hokey,
and you
it's-
don't, and you've got a certain amount of time that you can stay as that painting, so you have to be very careful about how you do it. So you may see a spot where you could travel all the way around a cave wall to there, except that your magic runs out here. So you can't necessarily go anywhere you want. They've done enough to keep it strategic, and it's cool. I love the way they've done that, because then you have to think much more differently about puzzles.
Yeah. Is it hard? The game? Is it like? Would you say
No.
like, difficult? No. Eh?
No, I
No.
would
Like
say that-
Zelda 1, or is it Link to the Past hard? Like Link to the Past, I never found.
Link
really
to the
difficult.
Past
had its
hard.
moments. It had its moments.
This has its moments, but for the most part, it's a solid game, not super challenging, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
So, because you got to remember, they're also aiming at smaller kids who
Yeah.
won't be able to play as well as people who've been playing games their entire lives.
Yeah.
But it's a good enough challenge. I think you'd
Yeah.
really enjoy it. The music is so good.
I keep hearing about the music. It's like, is it just redone versions of A Link to the Past music, or is it just
Some with some new stuff.
And the new stuff is good. I just want to hear about the new stuff.
Yes, the new stuff is very good. It feels very much at home in this
Oh, that's cool.
universe.
That's
and
really cool.
and really, like I said, doing it as a follow-up was so good. There were so many nods to this one, little subtle
Yeah.
things that were in there.
It didn't just feel like a cash grab. Hey, we'll call it A Link to the Past 2 type of thing. Let's rock and roll. No,
Not at all.
Yeah.
And another nice thing about turning into the painting is that there are some buildings, if there's like a drawing of a rupee on the wall, as you walk through it, you collect the money.
Yeah.
So anything that's drawn on the walls,
you become part of the painting.
you can
itself.
interact
Right.
with.
Right.
And they even had a really great dynamic for traveling back and forth between the Dark World and the Light World.
Yeah.
Which involved cracks in the wall that were sort of making this dark fog. So
Yeah.
if you stuck to the wall and then went through to one of those, you'd wrap around the lip of the crack and into the Dark World.
How long did it take you to finish the game?
Oh God, I can't say in hours, but I can say that I with my limited gaming time, remember, wife and 2 kids, don't have a lot of time. Couple of months.
Yeah, on and off.
So
here and
it's not a super long game. It's, to be honest, the way we talk, because we don't like really long games anymore. We don't like really hard games anymore.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
perfect. It's just long enough.
The reason
just
why,
hard
yeah,
enough.
we don't have a lot of time, and that's the thing. I have a certain amount of time in a week. It's like, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? That's not because I don't like it or the idea of it. It's just, what the fuck is my time? I gotta be very careful about what I play these days.
Make the time for this. It will bring so much nostalgia to you. It'll give you the warm fuzzies. I
Yeah.
cannot say it enough.
Yeah.
Such a Nintendo. More like this. Do these things.
Yeah.
You know, your Mario Kart's amazing right now. Your Smash Brothers is gonna blow everyone's mind. I can't wait to see more of the new Zelda. But this also, do more of these.
Yeah.
This style, because it really is so fun and so good. It reminds me of why I got into gaming.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Man, you sold me. You sold me.
You gotta play it.
I wasn't against this game
Yeah.
at all. Just wondering where's my time is.
When you walk in the front door on it, because I had this and Bravely Default at the same time.
Oh, jeez.
Tamara focused on Bravely Default. I focused on this.
Yeah.
I finished this. I'm now playing Bravely Default, which is also so good.
I
But-
know. There's another game. See,
Another episode. We'll talk about that one,
Yeah,
because
well-
it is just like
yeah. Well, always a little bit behind the times with it, but we always, we get there eventually. There's no rush for reviews.
by the time we do it, it's retro.
Bravo! That was awesome. We'll end on a high note, guys. So, Rob highly recommends it. He sold me on it. I'm going to do it as well. So, anyways, guys, until next time.